Welcome back to ESA Summer 21. We are raising money for Save the Children, and links to donate can be found below the stream. We'd also like to thank Twitch and ViewSonic for sponsoring this event. Now get your oohs and your ahs ready. It is time for Ceaselessly with RollerCoaster Tycoon. Take it away.
Hello everyone, thank you so much, Hugs. I am looking forward to this, I'm very excited. I'm Ceaselessly, this is RollerCoaster Tycoon 1 all-based scenarios. We're going to be defeating all 21 of these scenarios in RollerCoaster Tycoon as quickly as possible. I'll kind of explain how we're going to do that as we go. We're using the OpenRCT2 remake of this game, so you're going to see some fun things. I'm ready to get started, so time can start in 3, 2, 1... go. Alright, so welcome on in, folks. I'm very happy to be here, and I hope you're all excited to see RollerCoaster Tycoon get demolished. The main rule of this speedrun is that we cannot use any pre-built custom rides, so we're going to be relying on ones that came with the game, like the one that I just placed in the park, and custom designs that we build during the run that we then save and use in other scenarios, and most of the scenarios are going to go by just as quickly as that. We've got 21 to get through in at most 31 minutes, so we gotta be fast here. You may have noticed there that we were making use of a feature that is exclusive to OpenRCT2, which is the speed up option. OpenRCT2, if you're not familiar with it, is a fan-made rebuild of this game that introduces a lot of quality of life features, including that speed up option and the option to complete scenarios early without having to wait until the static in-game month that you have to reach the goal. So here we go. This is the first of our 2 custom designs that you're going to see in this speedrun. It may look kind of silly. This is the junior roller coaster, but trust me, it's going to work. Our goal today is not to create pretty, beautiful parks that are aesthetically pleasing. Our goal today is to optimize our placements and everything to beat the scenarios quickly. So this and the other roller coaster you're going to see in a bit are very silly looking, but just you're going to have to trust me, they work. So we're going to be seeing this one here. I got to place 5 of these, and basically the goal here is to place enough rides to generate guest traffic. In the game, you have a soft cap on how many guests you can get into your park at any given time, based on the value and excitement rating and all of that stuff for the rides in the park. Here in this scenario, the majority of the footwork is going to be done by this large roller coaster that comes with the scenario called Dynamite Blaster, and these junior roller coasters are just there to kind of supplement it. But this is kind of the basic formula. We're going to be placing our rides, running our ads, and trying to get to those goals. So there's Dynamite Dunes. Here's Leafy Lake, which is going to be kind of similar, but we're also about to see our other custom design come into play here. The next one coming up is the looping roller coaster. We have to unlock the ride type using this research and development panel. In most of the scenarios that we need this, it's going to be the first one, which is very handy, but there are a couple that is buried a little bit into the invention list. And again, this one's going to look goofy, but it's just a loop that we're not even going to go fully through. And the reason that this is a good, these are good for the speedrun is because they're cheap. They meet their minimum requirements for having the minimum stats to make the ride desirable to guests, and they have a small footprint. In these early scenarios, we have a lot of space to work with, but as we get deeper into the run, we're going to see that there's a lot less real estate in each scenario. So this scenario here, Leafy Lake, is pretty simple. You just need to get 500 guests, so we don't even need to run a full round of ads here. We can just put them up, whatever, do one scroll of the scroll wheel, and keep going. We're also not going to need to hire any staff for this scenario, because of how low the guest count is. I'll explain a little bit more about staff and stuff later, but for now we're moving on to the next scenario. It's called Diamond Heights. This one's going to move a little bit faster than I could explain, so I'm just going to do it, and then afterwards explain what happened. But you're going to be seeing me place a couple of these bad boys in turbo speed. Gonna need one more, it looks like. Oh, nope, we're good. Alright, so what happened there? That was there are two types of scenario objectives in this run. One is, the majority of them, you have to reach a certain guest count by a certain date. In others, you have to reach a certain park value, and the park value is calculated based on the excitement rating and like overall monetary value of all of the rides and attractions in your park. So for that one that we just finished, Diamond Heights, it was just a matter of placing a couple of these looping coasters to amp up the park value, to accentuate the rides that were already there. And once we reached it, we were ready to move on. We left the rides in test mode so they wouldn't break down or depreciate in value. And we left the game time in turbo because the game only calculates park value once every in-game month, so we want to get there as fast as possible. All right, next up,
I'm really sorry to interrupt you. We just had a $500 donation.
Oh my gosh.
From Thy Eggman. It says, "Hey ESA, really excited for the RCT speedrun. I'm the creator of the mod that allows scenarios to be completed early in OpenRCT. I'm really excited to see Ceaselessly crush it. It's for a great cause too.
Oh my
Love
gosh.
what you all do, and that's being split between the Sega Bass Fishing and the One Hand Showcase for Shoot Mania. Thank you so much for that incredible donation."
Thy Eggman, thank you so much. That is amazing and very generous of you. Thy Eggman, as they mentioned in their donation, is one of the developers of OpenRCT2, and they made the feature that allows you to complete scenarios early. So just, wow, thank you so much for your generosity there. That's very kind of you. Wow, I'm a little bit speechless after that. That's really cool. But, okay, so I was going to say that last scenario, Evergreen Gardens, was kind of the first that we need to get to a pretty high guest count. That one is 1,000 guests. So we just placed a bunch of rides and ran our ads and hired our staff. And that's kind of the general formula of this speedrun for all of the guest-based scenarios, at least. But the skill of this speedrun comes in like familiarizing yourself with all of the specifics of each scenario. Like one scenario, you can take out a large loan and you never have to worry about money. In other scenarios, you have to take out, your loan size is small and you're working with limited resources. And that's kind of just where the skill comes in. It's not like a speedrun that's about like memorizing like complex like enemy patterns or like movement. There's no glitching. It's just a matter of like paying attention to your resources and managing them accurately based on the needs of each scenario. We talked a little bit about this before, but path is really important. One of the main things that makes guests leave the park is when the paths are crowded. So in a lot of scenarios like that one we just finished, you're going to be seeing me build out some path and such. Prior to building rides. That also gives us a little bit more real estate to work with in a lot of scenarios, like more real estate to build our rides and have like a direct connection to the main path of the park so that guests don't get lost or anything. So here, Trinity Islands is the next scenario, and we are going to be unlocking the looping coaster. It's like 3rd or 4th in the invention list, so we will place some stalls while we're waiting for it to unlock, because we're just sitting around waiting for it to happen anyway. And this is another scenario where we have to place a certain number of these and then run our ads, hire our staff. Staff is also important because the handymen keep the paths clean. Lots of puke and litter on the paths make guests unhappy. And the mechanics keep the rides operating by inspecting them and fixing them when they break down. Obviously, if you went to a park that the paths were covered in puke and all of the rides were broken down, you'd want to go home too, right? So that's the main function of staff. We don't use any of the other staff, the entertainers or the security guards in this category. In other categories, some scenarios require entertainers, but we won't be seeing that in this one. But so I'm going to finish up this scenario here, hire my staff. And the next two are going to be park value-based scenarios, so I'm just going to be spamming some looping coasters. So if you have any donations or other announcements to make, the next minute or so would be a really good time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cease. To begin with, we have a $28 from the ever-generous Anonymous. No comment on that one, but it does go to Sega Bass Fishing. We also have a $51 donation from Level Story, who says, "Hey ESA, happy to donate some money to a great cause. A big shout out to the amazing runners and the awesome folks behind the scenes who make this possible, putting this donation towards the Sully skin in Uncharted Drake's Fortune." We also have a $25 donation from Username Mules, who says, "I played RCT2 so much as a child. Welcome to my park. Have fun or my tweezers will drop you in the water." And I'll admit, I used to do that all the time as well. And that one's going to Sega Bass Fishing. And yeah, I'll hand back to you for now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the donations, people. I'm glad to see there's some RCT love happening out there. This is truly one of my favorite video games and like a really interesting speedrun. Speaking of incentives, we did meet the Crash the Coasters incentive. So at the end of the run, we will be participating in that classic RollerCoaster Tycoon pastime of crashing our looping coasters and killing all of the guests on board. So look forward to that. As we wind down things here in this spam section, Dinky Park. Next up, we're going to be going to Aqua Park, which is a fairly well-built-up amusement water park type thing. So really all we need to do here is hire some staff and place some stalls. And I actually went into turbo speed there to generate guest traffic to reach like the guest cap for all of the rides that are already in the park. And basically what that means is we're going to be able to hopefully, this is a little RNG dependent, but hopefully finish out this scenario with running only one round of these ads. So in each scenario, by far the most time-consuming thing, in most scenarios that require you to run ads, running the ads is the most time-consuming thing. So anytime we can avoid like doing more than one round of them is beneficial to us. In this scenario, it's not always consistent that we can get it, but it looks like we might. No, we just missed it. We had like 897, and our goal for this scenario is 900. So it's not very consistent in this scenario. It's like I found like a run pretty consistently. All right, there we go. It's also, you know, really pleasant to have the crowd in your park cheer for you when you win. I've always liked that about this game. Next up, this scenario is called Millennium Minds. This is one of two scenarios in the run that require you to set the park admission price to 0. Basically, the reason we do that, the game, based on the value of the rides that you have in your park, will calculate like what a fair admission price is. Like if your admission price is too high, it will tell you, like it'll give you a warning message like, your admission price is too high. It's making people not want to come to your park. Consider lowering it. So if you have a park that has an admission price, it will not attract people as quickly as a park with no admission fee. Because you have the possibility of getting like an award in the game that basically says like your park is the best value park in the country if you're charging for less than what your total park value is. Or, you know, what the fair price calculation determines based on the value of your park. So we want to make sure that we set that to 0, run everything in turbo as we hire our staff, drop back down, and then run our ads. And this should bring us through in one cycle. The reason we drop down to the second highest speed when we're running the ads is that, oh, hey, shout out to Tiffany C here. I accidentally opened their guest window. The reason we want to drop down to the second lowest speed when we're running our ads is because the ads running in sync is important. So, like, everything basically expiring around the same time is pretty important. And in turbo speed, the in-game time just passes too quickly for like a human to be able to keep them in sync. So second highest speed is the way to go in order to achieve that. Next up, we've got this park, Karts and Coasters. Again, this is a fairly well built up park that just has, it's like go-kart and like wooden roller coaster themed. It's actually kind of neat. All we need to do for this one is place some stalls, hire some staff, and run our ads. Unfortunately, like, I've not been able to ever get this one in only one round of ads, so I want to see if there's like some kind of strat that I can discover to be able to accomplish that, because it would effectively cut the amount of time that you spend on this scenario in half. But for now, we're just going to do it the old way, because I haven't, and we're looking for 1,000 guests down here, in the lower left. And like, yeah, that's kind of like the skill that comes into the game, right? Like, just being able to monitor all of this different information at once, like how much money you have, how many guests you have, like what date it is in the game to make sure you're not coming up too close to the scenario deadline, paying attention to see if like rides are breaking down and you need to do something about it. It's a lot of information all at once that you gotta process. Alright, next up after Karts and Coasters is this scenario is called Mels World. This is one of 2 scenarios that I believe are named after the developer Chris Sawyer's daughters, which is just a fun little fact and I think is really cute. The other one was called Katie's World earlier. This one's another very well built up park. All we need to do is place 3 rides. We're going to go into turbo speed here for a while we hire our staff, because this park actually has a fairly high like guest cap already before we need to worry about running ads. 630. In the 630s is usually where I cut it. You basically, like, when your park like is actively attracting more guests and like the guest count is growing, it'll show you like a little green up arrow. And once you see that there's no little green up arrow down in the lower left of the corner, that's when you know, like, okay, it's time to run ads to start forcing more guests into the park. And we should get to 1,200 here. Yep, no problem. After Mels World, this is a scenario called Mothball Mountain. This one is actually quite tricky. This is a little bit of a run killer when you're going for PB attempts, just because of it's really easy to do things in the wrong order here. It's a fairly small park that we need to build a lot of path around, and then we need to build a fairly high number of rides. We need to build 9 looping coasters, which is the second highest number in the whole run. So the exact layout of the path is very precise, and then the last thing that makes this a challenging scenario is that the money is quite tight. Like, I'm about to take out, we only get an additional $15,000 from this loan. So we have to be very careful that we run our ads in a specific order. It's more than enough money to build all the rides we need, but once we build the rides, we won't have enough money to run an entire 12 weeks on every scenario, or I'm sorry, every marketing campaign. And so we'll need to do the most expensive campaigns at a lower rate, for less time. So once we've got our 9 coasters, we're going to go in here. Once again, we're going to do the trick where we go into turbo speed to get guests into the park naturally while we hire our staff. And we we've made just enough money to run 12 weeks. This is a fairly new strat, so I actually didn't know that we could do that, but we have enough money here to do a full 12 weeks of everything, so this actually should save us a little time on this scenario, actually. Let's see how it works out. Cross your fingers for me. Yep, there we go. That was actually almost a gold split. Funny. Okay, next up, this park is called Pacific Pyramids. It's a pretty basic, just build some looping coasters, hire some staff, and place some stalls. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Habs. If you have any donations or announcements to read, now's a really good time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Cease. We have a $5 donation from Mr. Bones, who says, all aboard! And that one's going to Sega Bass Fishing. We have a $20 donation from Blipblop, who says, RCT was my childhood. Amazing to see it being broken like this. And yeah, it does look incredible. The way you navigate through these menus is phenomenal, Cease.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of like the main challenge of the run, like clicking the right things and other stuff like that. Like, it's really easy to click the wrong thing on this like tiny like 1998 UI here. And like the developers of OpenRCT have done a great job of making it a little more user-friendly without like completely betraying the original spirit of like the game's like aesthetics. So big shout outs to them. OpenRCT2.org, I believe, is the URL if you ever want to play RCT with like these quality of life features. It's really wonderful. So once again, we are going into our marketing campaigns here, and we should be able to reach 1,000 guests without too much trouble. Game's lagging a little bit because of that that weather effect happening there. Oh, alright, we almost missed it, but there we go. Alright, next up, this is probably my favorite scenario because literally all we need to do, there's a fully built park somewhere off to the upper left there. We're never going to look at it because it's so well made and fully built up that we are just going to come in here and run our ads, and that's going to be it. I like to joke that this is the one where I'm not a roller coaster tycoon, I'm a roller coaster marketing firm, because I don't need to do anything here. I hire a couple of mechanics to be marathon safe, just in case like rides start to break down. You have the extra staff to fix them up nice and quick, but otherwise, this is a very safe scenario in which we do next to nothing. Okay, after Crumbly Woods, we're coming up to this scenario called Big Pier. This one's a little interesting because the entire thing is water, at least the entire thing that you can build upon is water. So we need to build a path down from the main pier to water level, and I'll show you why in just a second, but basically the reason for that is that, I need the roller coasters. Yeah, as you can see there's like some of the biggest time losses in the run is just clicking the wrong thing because the UI is so tiny and crowded. But, okay, so if I tried to build this up against the big pier, it doesn't snap up, right? So I need to build this this roller coaster, or this path down at water level to get my coasters placed. Once we have that, it snaps directly to it. And again, this is another scenario that requires a fairly small guest count, so we're not going to need to worry too much. This one only needs to get to 600 is the number. So rinse and repeat, hire our staff, and that's Big Pier for you. I'm going to run the full 12 weeks just to be safe. It does occasionally happen where, you know, if I'm lazy with my scrolling or don't scroll hard enough, like, I accidentally set one for only, I don't know, like 3 weeks, and that's not quite enough time to get guests into the park, but the full 12 weeks is more than enough. And now we're going to be moving on to the final stretch of the run. This scenario, Lightning Peaks, is one of the more challenging that, as far as landscape goes. It's a very like rigid hilly landscape, so we need to place our looping coasters in a very specific order here. You may have also noticed that as soon as I loaded the scenario, there was that finance window open. One of the tricks you can do to save a little time while a scenario is loading is you can use hotkeys to basically just, if you press a hotkey that's assigned to a specific window while the game is loading, you can store it in the game's memory, and it will load the game automatically, load the window automatically once the scenario is done loading. Another thing you may have noticed me doing there is, sorry, I did this in the wrong order. Another thing you may have noticed was that I placed some rides, or some new stalls, inside the windows of other stalls. That's a fun little trick that you can do. Basically, like, you can place stuff inside the stall windows, like the little preview window that they get, to avoid spending time, like, closing windows, because that can be kind of like managing where the windows and menus are in the game UI can be time consuming. So that's just a handy little trick for placing stalls. And then once we might not get this in the one cycle. That's a shame. That's okay. I think I hired too much staff for this to get the one cycle. We need another 100 guests here. But yeah, this is kind of like the final stretch of the run where all of the skills we've been seeing otherwise start to come into play. And here we are at 900. Perfect. Lost a little time there, but that's okay. Next up, this Ivory Towers. This is a park, like a pre-established park that has some problems, is the scenario description. And if you pay attention to the footpaths, there's a lot of vandalism, there's a lot of vomit on the paths, and there's a lot of litter. So our goal is to get more guests into the park and also just take care of those problems. Honestly, the vandalism doesn't matter. You can reach the goal with all of the benches and litter bins smashed with no issue, which is fortunate because that's easily like the most time-consuming problem to fix in a scenario, because you have to like manually go and build new ones. And then as far as the puke and litter go, we just hire a lot of handymen and we're good to go. So once we've placed all of those rides, we come back here to our marketing campaigns. And as we get ready to run these, this is about to be the longest input break in the run. It's going to be about 10 seconds. So if you want to sneak any more final donations or announcements in before the end of the run, now would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Fingers to Hand donates $20 and says, "It's been a while since I caught one of these. This RCT run is amazing. Looking forward to the rest of the marathon, and hopefully I can attend one of these again soon. I miss everyone." And we miss everyone as well. And that donation's going towards Sega Bass Fishing. We also have a $10 anonymous donation, which is going towards the Black Penguin blindfold for the Super Smash Bros. Melee Adventure Mode run. And finally, Tiny Tim donates $5 and says, "Hey all, donating for the awesome RollerCoaster Tycoon run. I really loved playing this game when it first came out, but could never get past the first couple of levels. Amazing to see it being absolutely crashed. Good luck on the run ceaselessly. Cheers." And that one's going to Sega Bass Fishing.
Thank you so much, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. I love this speedrun. It's very strange. It's like a very unusual speedrun, but I'm glad to hear people are enjoying it. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Sega Bass Fishing if that incentive gets met. So here we are. This is the second to last scenario called Rainbow Valley, and I like to call this one kind of the final boss of the speedrun. It's also kind of the final boss of like playing this game casually, because basically like all of the skills you pick up in playing earlier scenarios come into play here. The first thing we're going to do is build this long snaking path through like the underground section and through this river in the middle of the valley. And obviously the one reason we do that is to have guests have a place to walk, and the other reason we do that is so that we actually have real estate to place our rides on, because the landscape in this one is extremely slopey and like hard to place things on, and we have to place the rides that we unlock in very specific spots. We're going to unlock our looping coaster here, and we are going to place 7 of them in very specific areas on the map. The biggest thing that's like challenging about this scenario, anyone who's played RCT will probably remember it because it's infamous, is that you can't alter any of the landscape or the remove any of the trees. So that really leaves you with a lot of limitations on where you can actually build things. So I'm going to place, this is going to be number 6, so we need to place 1 more right here. And it doesn't matter that they don't have queue lines, they'll still get the job done. Once again, we're going to go into turbo speed to get natural guest traffic in, hire some staff, and we're also going to zoom in here to place some stalls as we continue to rack up guests. It's really amazing, like, in the time I've been speedrunning this game, this scenario has evolved quite a bit. It used to be, like, over 5 minutes long because there was a lot more path building and a lot of, like, you know, just precise, like, clicking and all of that fun garbage. But ever since I discovered that it doesn't really matter if these rides don't have queues, it's become much faster and much simpler. It's currently, the fastest I've ever done it was, like, 3 minutes and 2 seconds. I think it can go down to a sub 3 pretty easily with some more practice. There we are. There's Rainbow Valley. And finally, Thunder Rock is sort of the sigh of relief at the end of the run. This is the final scenario, so time will be coming up in about a minute, and then we will be crashing all of these beautiful roller coasters that we're building. But, you know, this is kind of just a tidy little summary, sigh of relief at the end of, after you get past Rainbow Valley, where you just need to place 5 of these coasters, open them all up. We're going to go into turbo speed once again while we hire our staff. No need to build any shops. We're going to get the guest count up to about 400 here before we take out our loan and start to run our ads. So please stand by on time. It will be when the window pops up and the guests start clapping to indicate the objective has been met. All right, and come on, game, stop lagging. Time. There we are. That's RollerCoaster Tycoon, all base scenarios. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. This was a great time. And let's crash some coasters. Let's participate in everyone's favorite pastime. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the game as we do this in order to get the coasters up to the maximum speed here to send them flying off the track. And as I do that, I just want to say once again a shout out to the OpenRCT community. Without OpenRCT2, we wouldn't be able to speedrun this game. At least not in this way. Shout out to the Eggman for the very generous donation of $500 and for being one of the developers. Shout out to Hot Coffee, who was the previous world record runner, and my route is very similar to theirs with some modifications. And shout out to Marcel Voss, who is a YouTube creator who his knowledge of this game is kind of the basis for the strats that we use for the route. Without any further ado, we're going to crash some coasters. If you're interested in running this game, feel free to hit me up on Twitch or Discord or speedrun.com/RCT1, speedrun.com/RCT2. Let's crash some coasters. We're going to need one more cycle. Okay, there goes the first one. Kaboom. I'll even speed it up a little bit. Kaboom, 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 kaboom. There we are. I hope it was worth it. Thank you again, everybody. This has been great. I am ceaselessly. Habs, over to you.
Thank you very much, ceaselessly. A fantastic run there, and yeah, I think you've managed to do in about 30 minutes what took me as a child maybe 2 months. So quite incredible. Stick around with us, everyone. Coming up next, we have a very fun race. It's Super Mario 64 Power Star Pathway Randomizer Race. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.